and other parts of the Muslim world.
Okay, remember, this man is not a nobody. Again, 1 million people, and he is good friends with Gaddafi. Here you see him with Gaddafi. Do they have jobs? He says yes. Has he spent billions on his people? He says yes. Well, he makes Gaddafi look like Mother Teresa rather than a brutal, evil dictator. He just wants to feed all the children and give them a little bit of chocolate, and he spends decades just trying to make the world and Libya a better place. It's weird because the Gaddafi I know is responsible for the bombing of a Berlin nightclub. In the 1980s, it was a hot spot for U.S. servicemen. 2 servicemen died. In '88, he blew up Pan Am Flight 103, which exploded over a Scottish town, Lockerbie, killing 270 people, mostly Americans. In '96, Gaddafi ordered the mass killing at a prison. Up to 1,200 prisoners were slaughtered. Gaddafi continues to detain, without due process, women and young girls in social rehabilitation facilities for breaking moral codes. Gaddafi reenacted the cutting off of hands punishment for thieves. He also initiated the brutal slaughter of innocent civilians in Western African countries of Liberia and Sierra Leone during the 1990s. And by the way, he also backed the invasions and launched a campaign of terror designed to scare the countries into compliance. How did they do it? Warning, very graphic. They would cut off the arms and the body parts of random civilians, scare them into place. Then the soldiers would play a game. They would bet on the sex of the baby inside of a pregnant woman. Then they would cut the fetus out of the woman to see who won. That's Gaddafi. Currently, 1 out of every 3 people in Libya are living in poverty. Gaddafi, however, is not living in poverty. Oh, no. Did he spend his billions on his people? Yes, said Farrakhan. No, says Glenn Beck. Estimates are ranging as high as $40 billion. The richest person in the world, to put this into perspective, is only worth $53.5 billion. So I can see why Farrakhan is so high on Gaddafi, as is the President Obama's former minister, Jeremiah Wright. His generosity is truly inspiring, and I love that little game he taught his soldiers. It's only taken him 42 years in power of this oil-rich nation, 42 years to achieve this utopia. Evil. Call it by name. It is evil. But he said more. He said England, France, and the U.S. Why? He called them imperial nations. England, France, and U.S. You don't think that there's any uprising in England or France, is there? Remember what I said. I said there's real problems in Europe when you take the radical left and you combine it with the radical Islamic society. When you put those two together, it is on fire. So now we have England, France, and the U.S. Also, we look the other way from Israel. I'll give you that story in a second. It's all for oil, and it's a wicked agenda. He warned us that this situation is more complex. May I give you the same warning? He said he has friends all over the world. What does that mean? Because I know I've seen pictures. He's obviously a friend. What does it mean that he has friends all over the world? He talked about Waco and the religious hypocrites in this nation. I know I spoke out, and I know all my friends spoke out about Waco. He called Americans wicked demons. I should say he called white people wicked demons. It, again, is all about race. But he mentions Wisconsin and Ohio and says it is coming and the nation will be bathed in blood. Wait until I show you what we have found in the next couple of days. Hope to have it ready for you tomorrow. Because this is coming, and there are people that are planning it. Let me show you what happened since we last met. Remember, this is only in a couple of days. We have the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Barack Obama, launching Tomahawk cruise missiles at Libya without getting any approval from Congress and without speaking to key Democrats about the strike and without giving any reason as why we needed to start essentially a third war, key here, with a Muslim nation with England and France. I know there's one senator who should be upset with this. He told the Boston Globe in 2007, the president doesn't have the power under the Constitution to unilaterally authorize a military attack. Thankfully, the media is all over this. No, they're not. Maybe they're all over the fact that this is a war for oil. No, they're not that. Well, at least we see all the protests of "not in my name" and "war is not the answer." No, we don't see that. But we are seeing a little bit of Yemen about to collapse. Why aren't we going there? Soldiers are defecting. Al Jazeera has been booted out. In Saudi Arabia, they're protesting for the release of prisoners, and somewhere Van Jones is applauding. Syria's unrest is also heating up. Thousands took to the streets this weekend to protest corruption. Bloomberg is reporting that the fast-tracking of Egypt's elections will most likely benefit the Muslim Brotherhood. And Mohammed el-Baradei, the guy who the media praised as a hero to the Egyptian revolution, but who said we would just be viewed as another American-controlled leader, was attacked outside of the polling station in Egypt, likely by the Muslim Brotherhood. They don't want another American figurehead. Gee, who would have seen it coming? They shoved him and smashed his car window as he left, threw rocks at him. Palestinian militants fired more than 50 rockets into Israel on Saturday, the heaviest attack in 2 years. The media barely reported it. Even with Sarah Palin being in Israel, the media in America just can't find the time to squeeze out a single story about Israel and how Israel is in danger. Maybe they're not doing it because 10 armed men attacked reporters at a Reuters office in Gaza. They took away cameras after they spotted reporters filming a protest they obviously didn't want reported. Nope, that is a story in and of itself, but nobody seems really willing to tell it. And wait until you hear what Benjamin Netanyahu said. These are all the things that has happened since Friday. Wow, can you imagine what a whole week will do? Benjamin Netanyahu and so much more when we come back. Tell your friends you'll be looking for their apologies after they hear this, but don't expect them. Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said something I know you probably have told your friends.
And there's a strange fusion, it's the only word I can use to describe it, a fusion with the anti-Semitism of the radical far left. And you know, this is the strangest union you could possibly contemplate because the radical Muslims, you know, they stone women, they execute gays, they're against any human rights and all, against feminism, against what have you. And the far left that is supposed to be for these things, they all unite on one thing, you know, bashing Israel.
I have to tell you, I can't believe I live in a country where we are losing our friend Israel. I mean, we're on the wrong side here, gang. It is of such a concern that Israel's military intelligence has dedicated an entire department to monitor the left-wing threats abroad as they fuse together. Why? Well, I think on this program we told you why. Why? Because they're not a fan of Israel. They're not a fan of capitalism. And they'll overturn stability because that leads to revolution. Oh, so very 1776. It leads to revolution, right? This is what I told you over here on this. Radical Islamist, communist, socialists, they will work together against Israel, against capitalism, to overturn stability. They will cascade, sweep the Middle East, and destabilize Europe and the rest of the world. Mark my words, gang, it's coming. Finally, after cheerleading revolution, after in Egypt, Obama was going to just ignore Libya, let France and England take the lead on that fight. Good thing they don't have any radical Islamic problems in those two countries. Their leaders aren't talking about how multiculturalism has failed in those countries. Now, have they? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, they have. America, understand one thing. This is good versus evil, and your name will be put on a chart or a book someplace. Evil is alive and well on this planet, and it is growing. It needs to be put on notice that good is growing as well. It is possible. It is possible, even though he had the best intentions, that France and England were allowed to lead this charge, and Obama reluctantly signed on, just listening to Hillary. And it would make the communists, the radicals, and the socialists cry when the Arab world begins to cry out colonialists, just coming for oil again, and they would be able to unite. You have to decide, and which board are you on, good versus evil. And some TV networks, I want you to know, are calling the Bible a work of fiction. That people who believe in God and the Bible are only stupid. The lack of reverence, fear, and even belief in God in this country is alarming. Our founders relied on divine providence. Today, far too many rely on man's intelligence and are openly hostile to God.
If you're saying that some things in the Bible are true and other things aren't, it's not like the Constitution, Bill. It was written by God or inspired by God. So how come so much of it is either wacky or immoral?
If prayer takes the place of logical thinking, then I think it's dangerous. Right. Then it's dangerous. If it
Prayer's not illogical.
No, but it takes the place of thinking. Is
No,
what
it doesn't. That is a complete bigoted statement to say that when I'm praying, I'm not thinking.
I felt the prayer thing he did was pandering and anti-intellectual and just sort of a waste of time.
Anti-intellectual. Remind me tomorrow I have to read you the words of Abraham Lincoln that I read this weekend on that very topic. One of the other news networks, one of the clearly non-God-fearing hosts, ventured this opinion. No half-smart religious person believes the book of Revelation anymore. That is incredible to me. Incredible. He added that he was 100% certain that end times wouldn't be any time soon. Well, I don't think so either. I don't know if I'd say 100% sure, but I took all kinds of heat last week for saying the same thing that Franklin Graham, one of Billy Graham's 5 children, came out and said, and he said it much more eloquently than me. Basically, that no one knows the hour that Jesus is going to return. Nobody does. And that's what you believe if you're a Christian, that he is coming back, but I don't know when he's coming back. Everybody's been thinking it could be, it could be 5 minutes from now, it could be 5,000 years from now. We don't know. But does it hurt to be prepared, to have order in your life? Does it hurt to check yourself spiritually, to check yourself, check your pantry, to have an emergency plan together? Isn't that what we said we would do after 9/11? Have a disaster like Japan or chaos like the Middle East. Don't get caught thinking that it can't happen here. Farrakhan, the unions, everybody is saying that it will. That's what the Romans thought too. Oh, it'll never happen. We're Rome after all. Really? Well, if you're not prepared when tough times comes, you aren't going to be able to help. And that's what you were sent here to do. Help. You saw some of the evil that we showed you last segment. You cannot defeat evil at the polls. You can't defeat evil by electing another party. You can't defeat evil with protest signs. The only thing that defeats evil is good. Put on your armor, like the founders did, the armor of God. I'm sure the Soros blogs are going to ridicule me for saying this, but before they do, let me just show you in a little greater detail exactly who else is advising you to be prepared and have a plan. Yes, it's that crazy Waco religious group of Stratfor, a private firm made up of geopolitical and intelligence experts. They have a whole piece out now on why you should be prepared for anything now, because they know it's crazy what's going on in the world. Isn't it crazy to not be prepared? Shouldn't we as citizens, as the guardians of the republic, make no mistake, that's what you are, a guardian of man's freedom. Shouldn't we as citizens be prepared? And shouldn't anybody who's telling you that that's crazy, you shouldn't prepare for things? Okay, which blackboard do they belong on? I'm just curious.